Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in to Full Send Living this week. Happy Friday, everybody, if you're tuning in on the Friday that this was released. And today we're going to get into James chapter 3. Let's send it.
Send it.
Let's send it. Boo! Ba-bow.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Nate Thompson, here with
Ethan Bricker.
And hey, we're going through the book of James. So chapter 1 and 2 are already out. Go back and watch them if you haven't already. And if you have, let's kick it in the face. We're in James chapter 3. Okay.
Cool. I will read this chapter.
Go
you can
ahead.
read next chapter.
Okay.
You good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the English Standard Version translation. So here we go. Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness. For we all stumble in many ways, and if anyone does not stumble in what he says, he is a perfect man, able also to bridle his whole body. If we put bits into the mouths of horses so that they obey us, we guide their whole bodies as well. Look at the ships also. Though they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are guided by a very small rudder, wherever the will of the pilot directs. So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great things. How great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire. And the tongue is a fire, a world of unrighteousness. The tongue is set among our members, straining the whole body, setting on fire the entire course of life, and set on fire by hell. Man, bringing it.
Jimbo isn't playing.
For every kind of beast and bird, of reptile and sea creature can be tamed and has been tamed by mankind, but no human being can tame the tongue. Yeah, that's intense. No human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil full of deadly poison. With it we bless our Lord and Father. With it we curse people who are made in the likeness of God. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. From the same mouth come blessing and cursing. My brothers, these things ought not to be so. Does a spring pour forth from the same opening both fresh and salt water? Sorry, that's verse 11. I'll reread it. Does a spring pour forth from the same opening both fresh and salt water? Can a fig tree, my brothers, bear olives, or a grapevine produce figs? Neither can a salt pond yield fresh water. You want to pause there?
Yeah.
So the tongue.
Dang.
It is.
That's fierce, man.
Yeah, it's intense.
You know what stuck out to me? What was just a little bit, the part where he goes into just describing what it, the idea of putting a bit in a horse's mouth, like a large horse. Like when it says that in my translation, it makes me think of a Clydesdale.
Yeah.
Just a big, huge, powerful, something
Yeah.
It's something to be feared, reverent, or whatever, the idea of it's powerful, it's something. And then this tiny bit will just will direct the power.
Yeah.
And then when he goes into a little rudder talking about the ship, and even where it says wherever the pilot chooses. And I was just imagining a ship, it's full of people, it's full of a crew of all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And one pilot, one thing can steer a multitude of people, in a way of this body of whatever, where we're on the ship together, and the idea of the sails and all the stuff that you think is powering the thing and all the people. And then they'll just steer through it. And James is nope, keep going. Mm-hmm. It's this little thing in the back that's speaking to where this is going.
Unseen.
Yeah. It's just man, that visual for me was just powerful.
It's so powerful. Yeah, and when you think about even a cruise ship, that rudder's got to be 12 feet high, tall, something like that. Maybe 20 feet. I don't know, but compared to hundreds of feet in length and height and width and all of that, and that little thing is just like turning it. So it speaks of influence. You know what I mean? Like there's significant influence that thing has on the influence of, not the influence. It speaks so highly of the success that thing has on the thing it's guiding.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And just the direction it puts it.
Yeah.
Like how many times you see horses that want to go somewhere else, and that little bit is like, no,
Yep.
it's controlling you. You're going this way. And then how careless we are. Well, dude, what he talks about at the very beginning about teachers and like teaching things, like, man, that makes me sweat.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he's like,
Yeah,
careful what you're saying, and it's like, oh my gosh, James.
It's crazy to me when he says, it's in verse 9, he says, with it we bless our Lord and Father, and with it we curse people who were made in the likeness of God.
Mm-hmm.
Like, goodness gracious, that is so intense. Of like, this thing is both a blessing and it's ruining things at the same time.
And I feel like he's speaking to just like how unnatural like things can be with us. Cause when I read that part, when I hear it, like I feel like he's just like, what else on earth produces things like this? Nothing. Like it's the most unnatural thing. Like he's like, fig trees produce figs. Like you're not going to get salt and fresh from the same spot. It's unnatural to find that. Mm-hmm. And he's like, but our tongues, like what we're capable of, he's like, you will praise God in one sentence and you turn and curse your brothers in the next. Like he's like just almost like step back and see what you're capable of. Like it's unnatural. Like, and I think like even in the way of like for us as Christians and our growth with the Lord to recognize, because I am too guilty. I'm too guilty of this. Like when I'm reading this, I'm just like, I feel like I might as well be sitting in front of him because he's just like calling me out. And man, I don't want to be that way.
Yeah. Even just the first statement in verse 1 of chapter 3 says, not many of you should become teachers. Mm-hmm. And like how many of us want to teach more than to be taught, Because it's like you want to be like I'm guilty of that, where it's like you want to be the one talking, because there's a place of authority in that, but you don't realize the kind of weight that's behind what your tongue is, which kind of goes back to that proverb of like the foolish have many things to say, but the wise have very little things to say, and I feel like it was at some point in 2021 where I felt like the Lord was like prepping me, but it was like he was revealing to me the lack of control I had over my tongue and the lack of like even at Bible studies at Nate Cates where he'd be like, and I can't, it's like even joking where it's like, yeah, it's probably perfectly fine and whatever, but then you're just like, do I have to even joke or whatever? But Nate always says this thing at his Bible studies where he's like, I mean, I could be off the rails here, but well, hear me out. And I'm like, heresy. Here we go. Everybody put your heresy goggles on.
But, stand down, people. Get in the cars and leave.
But like it's like, I felt like there was times where it's like I'd even say things where I'm just like, why am I even talking right now? Like, shut up. You don't have to say what's on the screen.
Dude, and I feel like, I wonder like where James is even talking right now. Like, I just want to just hear that, even that idea for me of being like, what is coming out of my mouth? Like, and what needs to be, for him to like just to step back and say, this idea will move powerful things. Mm-hmm. These large horses get moved by such a small thing. These boats, say like full of people, you can move something in a direction that it may not need to go.
Yeah.
And I just feel like he's saying like there's like a wickedness within it that like this nature that fights God's nature. and how much this just develops that into reality.
Yeah.
Like our thoughts and what we try to capture and what we don't capture. And then all of a sudden our mouths are saying things and putting things into motion that he's like, man, you'll say one thing one day and you're saying another thing another day. It's like, this is like, you need to get this under control.
Yeah.
And I man,
Well, and earlier in the chapter before that, or he says, he starts talking about the evils of double-mindedness. It was either in one or two, but he's talking about double-mindedness. In many ways, he's addressing that with our tongue, where it's like your tongue is made for one thing. So if you can't do that one thing, then don't use it at all. You know, I feel like I've met so many people in life too that like they're so skilled with their tongue, you know, like skilled, like Zorro,
Wordsmith.
yeah, like just so like a swordsman, you know, just so skilled with their words and everything like that. And I feel like by knowing skilled people, I've met both skilled in the building up, their ability to build people up, and I've met skilled people in their ability to manipulate and to tear down. And there's such a different aroma coming off of them. You know what I mean? It's a different fruit. And I feel like that's the beauty of what James is discussing about at the end, where he's talking about fresh water and salt water. If you drink salt water, you're going to die. You know, if you're I don't know. It's just, it comes back to the, like, you'll know them by their fruit. And I think like we need to be asking ourselves, is what I'm saying producing fruit in the person across from me, or is it killing their tree? You know, I just want to be aware of that, you know, as a person. And I don't think anybody ever just gets there, but I feel like we just have to be honest with ourselves and just ask ourselves, like, am I confusing someone? Even that, like, where it's like you can propel somebody towards the right direction, or you can purposely propel them the wrong direction, both polar opposites. But there's also a middle ground that's not safe either. Is what's coming out of my mouth adding confusion to this person, or is it helping them see the truth?
Yeah.
You know, like, that's a big deal too, you know?
It is, man. It's like, and we, I think, to do those pulse checks, to stop and just be like, is this water fresh or salty? What am I doing here?
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Let's
here we
work
go.
on that, guys.
Here we go. Verse 13. This is the last little paragraph here of this chapter. Who is wise and understanding among you? By his good conduct, let him show his works in the meekness of wisdom. I'm going to underline that. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambitions in your hearts, do not boast and be false to the truth. This is not the wisdom that comes from above, but it is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder in every vile practice. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy, good fruits, and impartial and insincere. Wow. And a harvest of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. Man, that last two verses. I'm just gonna read that over again. Verse 17. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere. And a harvest of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. Goodness gracious.
It's just such a great gauge for when you're, for any of us, like needing advice and giving advice. Dude.
Like, to ask ourselves, is what I'm saying pure? Is it also peaceable? Am I adding peace, or am I causing angst? Like, one of the things in Proverbs is it says that one of the 7 things that God hates is sowing discord among brothers. So, like, even peaceable, is this adding peace, or is this adding trying to create war? Is it gentle, or is it heavy-handed? Is it open to reason?
Dude, in mine here says, for that part, it says willing to yield to others, and to think like how many times like when I hear that, it makes me just think of like to listen, like yield to somebody's like argument or perspective or whatever life is, but to be able to yield to that and to listen and to not already have your wisdom to speak into it, but to be able to even have like an understanding of like, what am I even speaking into? You know, like just to be able to do that, to slow down. But that I think is a great gauge for all of us in the moments where we come back and our tongue is ready to fire off something. And it's like, well, what is it? Is it fresh or salt? And is this wisdom that we're giving like earthly wisdom? Or is it this heavenly wisdom, and then gauged off of that?
Yeah. Is it full of mercy and good fruits, impartial? That's crazy to me. Of like, it's not choosing a side because of what side makes sense. It's literally thinking, I know I'm biased to think this way because of my political party, my denomination, my hobbies, my
Social status, income, all
every single thing. It's saying, I know culture wants me to think this, but I need to get back and truly look at this from an outside perspective and not just think about this because this is the way I was taught.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, that's where I feel like this book, we only got 2 chapters left, but this book I feel like just relates to that idea so much of just culture around us, how we interact with it, and to be willing to give up like culture stated identities and be willing to be like, no, the Lord is, I want the Lord to be my identity. I want to find my identity in Him. And then when I feel like these things, like with just the way we speak and how we address conflict, I feel like James is covering bases that Christians need to be aware of because there's a lot of things going on right now. So many things going on all the time. And for James to just lay out an idea of like wisdom from above looks like this.
Yeah.
So then for us to grab that and be like, okay, like, dude, that's huge, man.
I feel like too, the other thing is like being willing to hear from somebody else. That's a hard question to ask. Am I known for this verse 17? Are the words that come out of my mouth pure, peaceable, gentle, full of mercy, good fruits, impartial, and sincere?
That one for me depends on who you ask. It's gonna be like someone's gonna be like, no, it's like salt water.
Yeah.
Dude. That dude's a salt fountain. He's a salt
swampy.
stick. There's not even water left. It's just a stick of salt.
Block.
And somebody else may be like, just fresh water right there.
Yeah.
And that's what James is talking about.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, how do we, like, for us to be aware and to start moving towards just stacking up the fresh water, stacking it up, so that way we become more of that. Man.
Oh, it's so good. Well, how do we send it this week? I think this week we shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, people.
Shut your mouth and open your ears. No, but I think for real, I think the best way we send it this week is we ask ourselves, is what is coming out of my mouth towards my family, towards my friends, towards my coworkers, all of those things. Is it adding fresh water? Is it adding fruit, peace, gentleness, purity? Or is it the opposite? Is it stealing? Is it destroying? Is it extremely biased? Is it dividing lines, making sides, like trying to manipulate, like all those different things? Is what I'm doing building a case to get people around me, or is it truly trying to send them in the right direction?
Dude, I like that.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So let's send it this week. Thank you
All
guys
right.
for subscribing. If you're
Yep.
listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to write a review. Make sure you subscribe as well, but those reviews really help out. And you can also now write reviews on Spotify. So if you're listening there, subscribe, write a review,
Do it.
tell your friends.
Tell them all. All right.
Let's
Love you
go.
guys.
Tell them all.
Bye. Bye,
a new-
buddy.
Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad.